What's up everyone, my name's Mark from Silence Tech. Today we're going to check out an age-old topic, SLI. A lot of PC gamers have completely given up on the technology over the last year, so I thought it would be interesting to see if support is still there. Today we're going to check out a pair of relatively new MSI Gaming X Trio 1080 Ti's and putting them through their paces in two-way SLI. The idea of today's video is to see if SLI is still worth it and who could actually benefit from the potential extra performance. SLI or Scalable Link Interface has been around for a very long time. There are several modes, but the most commonly used today is AFR, which will alternate frames from each card. Both cards will output a frame at your monitor, effectively decreasing the workload, potentially allowing for extra performance. Tight and even frame times are also very important for a gamer's perceived smoothness, and the fact both cards are delivering a frame each can cause inconsistent frame times, and games can appear to run worse or even stutter with SLI enabled. This is where drivers come in. Without a properly configured driver, SLI can be a complete mess. I definitely noticed this while testing on a couple games. Watchdogs 2 was a prime example. Sure, frame rates increase, but because of poor frame times, the game actually appears to run worse. FPS only tells a small part of the story. Using NVIDIA Inspector, you are able to create your own profiles that can help increase performance or use it to eradicate stuttering completely. It's a great piece of software. That said, gamers aren't really prepared to take the time to learn how to use it, understandably so. NVIDIA completely dropped all SLI support on cards lower than a GTX 1070 last year. While that was a shame, I fully agree with them. Surely it would be better for an owner to sell his, let's say, GTX 1060 and to go ahead and buy a GTX 1080 later down the road, rather than pair his GTX 1060 with another, having to deal with SLI issues. Plus, most owners of a GTX 1060 will probably be gaming at a lower resolution, which could cause a CPU bottleneck, ultimately leading to poor SLI scaling in all games. Unfortunately, SLI requires a beastly CPU in 2017, and in the past it wasn't such an issue, but today's GPUs have increased in performance dramatically and CPUs haven't, leaving SLI now best suited for high resolution gamers, and I'll get a bit more into that in a second. Firstly, if you're thinking of running SLI, what is the best CPU for the job? Now, I know a lot of you will state it doesn't matter as long as you have a fast single core speed. But over the last year there's been a lot of talk about how important it is to have a CPU with enough PCIe Express lanes to allow your GPUs to run in a x16x16 configuration. Popular CPUs like the 5930K and 6850K have proven to a degree that they do indeed increase SLI scaling and performance, opposed to a CPU that only allows two cards to run at ×8. My CPU is a 6850K overclocked to 4.5 GHz. Using it with my MSI 1080 Ti Trios in a ×8x8 configuration, I noticed a reduction in performance by about 10 FPS game for game. This video is mainly focused on SLI, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about PCIe Express lanes. That said, I can highly recommend anyone thinking of running two high-end cards in 2017 to get a CPU with enough PCIe Express lanes to run or put both cards in a ×16x16 configuration, such as the previously mentioned 5930K or 6850K. What's interesting is Intel have decided to only offer a CPU with enough PCIe Express lanes for around $1,000 or 900 UK pounds in its newest Skylake X series, leaving SLI users on an X99 platform no option but to pay mega money for little extra performance gains. Next, we're going to show some games while running 2-way SLI at various resolutions, 1080p, 1440p and 4K. The idea is to see if there's any improvements in SLI scaling between the resolutions. SLI is a technology for GPUs, and of course it's not going to magically increase your CPU performance, so we need to see at what point a CPU bottleneck becomes apparent. At a 1920 by 1080 resolution on Rise of the Tomb Raider, a fairly recent game, it would appear that SLI is terrible. If you look at the GPU usage on both cards, they are both pinned at around 40 to 50%, so both GPUs are at half load, making it pointless to even have SLI on at all. But the problem isn't SLI failing, in fact it's working perfectly. The GPUs are so powerful the CPU can't keep up, stalling performance. Increasing the resolution to 2560 by 1440, GPU usage has increased, making SLI reasonably viable at 1440p, but still there clearly isn't that much of a performance increase. Jumping to 4K, and now we are only just starting to see SLI working correctly, only because the system is now GPU bound, and that's with a 6850K overclocked to 4.5 GHz. While testing, this happened with every game. In fact, even 4K couldn't make my system GPU bound on some titles. Only increasing the resolution even further got both cards running at 90+%. My poor 6850K couldn't even speed up enough. Its render times just weren't up to the task. One thing I noticed was stutter. It was improved the higher the resolution was as well. At 1080p, stuttering was pretty bad when my system was CPU bound, and it seemingly improved the higher I pushed the resolution. Something about being CPU bound while gaming in SLI caused the games to run terrible. So who is SLI actually for? Certainly not 1080p gamers anymore, since two GTX 1070s are going to wipe the floor with even the latest and greatest CPUs out there, causing the CPU to bottleneck SLI performance, resulting in poor scaling, and as far as I can tell, once you're CPU bound, it causes quite a bit of stuttering. SLI, in my opinion, is now aimed towards high resolution gamers, thanks to CPUs not improving in speed fast enough. While I've been testing, I wouldn't even recommend SLI for 1440p gamers. The increase in performance isn't enough in SLI at 1440p to warrant purchasing an extra card, even when your in-game settings are on Ultra, and that's especially so if you've got a high refresh rate monitor, because your CPU is going to become CPU bound really easily, resulting in poor scaling, and you may notice that you're getting the same amount of FPS in a single card as you are with two, which I do myself notice. But because I have 3 monitors, when I'm running like triple screen games, driving games, I notice a big increase in performance. 4K gamers, on the other hand, or any resolution that makes your system GPU bound, I can recommend SLI no trouble at all. In the 12 recent games I tested, 8 of them all had good SLI support, but the benefits were only apparent at 4K or higher resolutions. Triple monitor setups can also benefit from SLI immensely. With a triple monitor 1440p setup, SLI works very well, as expected with a combined resolution of 7680 by 1440. My GPUs most of the time were pinned at 95% load in a lot of games. Rounding off now, as a summary, is SLI dead in 2017? In a way, yes, but as far as my testing shows, SLI is not broken at all. In fact, it works just as well as it ever has. GPUs are becoming more and more powerful every year, and that's the problem, because CPUs aren't, leaving the technology broken. In previous years, the SLI fanbase mainly consisted of budget gamers wanting a quick way to bump up their performance, and that's not possible in 2017. But I don't blame Nvidia for stopping support for mid-range cards. It was the right thing to do, because even two GTX 1060s will run away from any top tier CPU, resulting in terrible scaling at lower resolutions like 1080p, a common resolution for people with mid-range cards. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts and opinions on SLI in late 2017. My name's Mark from Silence Tech. Goodbye.